So thank you for, oh, I am on, okay. It was like a magic thing that happened there. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Dr. Saxon and Dr. Marvel. Gosh, just listening to you guys talk, I'm like, I'm living the numbers. Thank you, Kanika, for giving me an opportunity to be here and to share my story in person. So you guys have seen the numbers and the graphs and everything, but my job right now is to make it real and tell you how it has truly affected my life and how apheresis has made a tremendous difference for me. So in every story, there's a good before and there's a good after. And with my story before, let me just go from here. As Dr. Saxon said, I took care of myself years and years, decades ago when my cholesterol started climbing. I was put on statins, and so I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. So I was put on statins, but I'm healthy. I exercise, I eat well, and I kind of got the memo to be healthy. So when all of this started happening, I was like, oh, take my medicine, I'll be just fine. But that's not really kind of how my story went. And so, as Dr. Saxon said, in 2018, I had a heart attack, and they put a STEMI in, and that's not what they did, but you can follow me. And for a lot of people, when they have that stent put in, that fixes the problem, and they don't have to worry about that ever again. That wasn't my story. I had ER visit after ER visit after ER visit after angioplasty after a bigger stent, and the whole time I'm eating well and I'm exercising and I'm taking my meds and ever increasing amounts of statins and the PCSK9s. So the thing that hung out in the future for me was a bypass, and that was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying to me. And the only thing that got me through that fright was, if I can make it through the bypass, if I can overcome my fear and have the bypass, I'll be better. I'll never have to look at this beast again. And so, sure enough, the day came, and I'm in the ER, and they say, you're having a bypass. I was terrified. I cried for the 4 days leading up to the bypass. But I'm gonna be better. I'm never gonna have to look at this again. I'm gonna exercise, eat well, take my meds. I'm never gonna have to look at this beastie again. That's not what happened. That's not what happened for me. A year later, I'm back in the ER, and they put another stent in my heart. What is going on? What is happening? Because I'm doing all the things. I'm eating well, I'm still exercising. The only thing that's changed is my anxiety is through the roof, and my depression and my desperation is unbelievable. And I'm looking at my children growing, and I'm like, am I gonna see them? Am I gonna meet grandchildren? Am I gonna get to see my son get married, who was engaged at the time? So after the stent was placed, you know, I go to the hospital, you always follow up with primary care. So I'm sitting with my primary care physician's assistant, and she's looking at my cholesterol panel. It didn't include an LPA at that time. And she's looking at all the things that I've gone through, and she said, Terry, you have to find a lipidologist. And I said, what's a lipidologist? And she said, I don't know, but you're really good at research, and I bet you can find one. And I found Dr. Saxon, Dr. Falco, and a tremendous, very compassionate team, and they have been nothing short of amazing with me. So I found them, made the appointment, and the very first thing that I did to go to the appointment was to have a lipid panel drawn. And I remember one of your staff members said, Terry, have you ever had a lipoprotein A drawn? No, I haven't. So we get to the appointment, and I find out that my lipoprotein A is 3 times normal. So years before that, years before my bypass, I had talked with my cardiologist, and I said, I've been researching these events, and I found about lipoprotein A, and do you think maybe that is the thread that's coming through all of that? And he said, we could test you for it, Terri, but it's not going to change your care. Well, I beg to differ. So when I met Dr. Saxon and Dr. Falco the first time, I was given a couple options. One of them wasn't really an option because I was in a place where I needed help now. And one of the option that wasn't really available to me was to enroll in one of the clinical trials. I didn't have the kind of time in my life left to risk not being in the right side of the test. So I was kind of rushed. Dr. Falco was amazing and got me into the lipid apheresis clinic. And on July 15th was my first apheresis clinic. And that is the point where the after part of my life started. From that point, it has been a complete turnaround for me. So this is the bag of waste. I don't know what the real word for it is, but what I call it is the bag of grossness and the jellyfish. So my jellyfish will look differently each time, but every 2 weeks I am in that clinic, and that is the priority in my life because that has been what changed my life. So every 2 weeks they're pulling this out. Can you imagine? Just imagine what my body's doing if I wasn't pulling that out. Well, we know what my body was doing, right? Not good things anyway. So here's my lifeline, and I cannot tell you how much it means to me to have found UCH and Apheresis and Dr. Saxon and the nurses, because guess what? I've got my life again. And I'll probably get emotional here, so just bear with me. So that's my grandbaby. He's adorable. Just like everybody's grandbabies, they're adorable. But I am involved in his life. These are our best friends. We travel all the time with them. There was a time I was afraid to get on a plane because I was like, what happens if I'm in the middle of nothing? Are they gonna drop the plane fast enough for me to get care? Can I go on a cruise because that's gonna leave land and there's no hospital? I literally lived my life by how close would I be to a hospital. If we were driving, we'd come into the city and I'd be like, where's the hospital? I need to know, where is it? Is it a little hospital? Or are they gonna know what to do with me because I'm kind of different than everybody? I don't do that anymore. Do you know how freeing that is? Oh my gosh. So we look to the future. When I was diagnosed, we also had my kids tested. And you as lipidologists will understand how hard it was for them to get tested because their doctors didn't want to do it. I actually had to call my daughter's doctor, who I see, and say, hey, Lisa, remember I'm not, she's like, oh yeah, okay. My boys, they had to fight, and my oldest not only got the test done, they're like, oh yeah, we'll get you tested. They did the wrong thing. They didn't even do lipoprotein A. So he had to go back and get it done. So it was frustrating. We'll just leave it at that. But I will leave you with this picture right here. And My husband and I did the heart walk with our family and our kids last year, and that's a survivor's arch. And so when you are done with the walk, you come through the survivor's arch, right? And ring the bell. And that's my husband, who has been with me every step of the way, from the ambulance to today. So, as you, what I would like for you to take away is apheresis makes a difference. And you may, in your travels, come across people who have a little bit of a colorful story like I do, who are not candidates for the amazing drugs that are coming out. My son may be a beneficiary of those drugs that are coming out, and maybe his path is going to be completely different than mine. But for those who aren't, apheresis is real. It's not a terrible thing to refer somebody to apheresis. It's life-giving. It's miraculous. Without it, I truly believe I would not be here in front of you today. So with that said, I want to thank you for listening to my story and bearing with me. Bearing with me as I kind of was bumpy. And I think if we have a couple minutes, we can take some questions, whether it's me or the amazing people on the stage with me.